Welcome back to the podcast where we ask the question, what makes you happy? Our guest today is a psychotherapist, author, and founder of a non-for-profit organization which helps chronically ill individuals who want to leave video legacies for their children and their loved ones. Today we have with us Michelle Maidenberg from New York, USA. It is a pleasure to have you with us, Michelle. How are you?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Super pumped to have you here today to talk about all things that make you happy. You've got a bit going on in your life, it sounds like, psychotherapist, founder, author. Can you just tell us a little bit about you and then lead into what makes you happy?
Sure. So I wear many, many hats, and I absolutely love what I do. So I am an extremely passionate, enthusiastic, person. I'm the kind of person who wakes up in the morning and is excited to get dressed and to work out, because that's the first thing I do, and then to, come to the office to see my clients, my patients, which just gives me so much satisfaction. And then I do so many things. I do guided meditations. I record them for YouTube, on a weekly basis. I do a lot of writing, which I love to do also. And, everything that I do is really to help others. So I'm very dedicated. I've really dedicated my life to helping others. And that really gives me a huge sense of satisfaction.
So, Michelle, how long have you known that dedicating your time to helping others brings you happiness? Was there a moment where you this is something I find a lot of joy in?
So I think because I had somewhat of maybe a challenging childhood, I would say, that I so appreciated when there was somebody that showed me kindness and love and care and warmth. I remember, I'll never forget, I had this teacher when I was in elementary school, and she just took notice of me and she took an interest. And I remember, I forever keep her in my mind. I remember her name. I remember how much love she showed me and how meaningful it was to me. And I always said to myself, I want to do that for others. That feels so good for the person, the recipient, the person you're obviously giving it to. And also, it must have felt good for her to know that she's making an impact on somebody too.
It does go a long way. Even just saying good morning to someone, you don't know how that changes the trajectory of their day, their week.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that it does, which I can't estimate either, I always teach people about values, their values and leaning into their values, which directly affects their self-confidence and their self-identity, how they see themselves. So one of my core values is thoughtfulness and kindness. So every single time that I take an action, whether it's, minute or substantial, I note that in my mind, and I actually pat myself on the back, again, not in an arrogant way, but more in a confident way. And I said, good for you. You leaned into your value. Wow, you took the effort and you made the time to do that. You're awesome. And I say that to myself, and that helps to build my confidence. So if somebody came over to me and they're like, oh, you're not so thoughtful, you're not a kind person, I wouldn't even think twice about it. I would laugh at them, because I would be like, I know who I am. Thank you.
It's so important to lean into your values. For our listeners, what's a simple way that they can start to understand a bit more about what they value in life?
So it's hard to explain, but I'm going to show you what my book. It's called Ace Your Life, Unleash Your Best Self and Live the Life You Want. But there's a whole chapter in it. So there's exercises that you need to do in order to really kind of tap into what your core values are. Because values, again, it sounds very simplistic. They're unconditional, which is very, very important. There's a difference between goals and values, which people confuse the two. Values, there's no endpoint to values. Values are enduring. So there's a lot of components of values which we don't understand. They're also a guide to action. So it's not good enough to say, I'm thoughtful, right? I can't look in the mirror and say, I'm thoughtful, and really believe that. But I have to take action on behalf of that to really, really integrate with that kind of sense of myself. It's really important to kind of understand all of that and to really formulate what your core values and what you're going to be doing on a daily basis in order to lean into them.
Yeah, we want our listeners, we want everyone watching to really think about what their values are. So Michelle, for the end of this episode, what's one thing you would love for our audience to take and you sort of maybe hit a home run today?
You have to be in the present moment at all times. with our joyful, connected, moments when we really, really feel satisfaction and contentment, because those are going to be so fleeting.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing all things that make you happy.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. We hope it gives you something to think about on your quest to discover what makes you happy. Make sure to check out whatmakesyouhappypodcast.com to connect with today's guest and follow us on all our social media platforms and to stay up to date at what's happening next at What Makes You Happy. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend, and we'll see you next time.